Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time it may be where you are at. Thank you for making Kai's Sports Opinion and me, Kyler Durham, a part of your day. I am back with your weekly episode of Kai's Sports Opinion, brought to you by Film Cinema, cinema for everyone. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcast. Now, happy Monday, everybody. Hope y'all have a good week ahead of y'all, and I hope you had a good weekend. And I had a good weekend, and I want to start off by telling you about one of the events that was involved in my weekend, and that was UFC 251. Now, it's our first fight that we had, our first card that we had at Fight Island in Abu Dhabi, where Dana White is going to hold, Aaron, the next 4 fights? Is that correct? Yeah. So now the next 3 fights are going to be held at Abu Dhabi. And the first fight the first main card that headlined Fight Island, also UFC 251, was Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal for the belt. And I spoke a little bit about this on last week's episode, but I want to explain how we got here. So Tyron Woodley, a month ago or whatever, had a quote-unquote tune-up fight against Gilbert Burns. He was expected to wipe the floor with Gilbert Burns, and then he would fight Kamaru Usman for the belt again. And Tyron Woodley got destroyed by Gilbert Burns. So they just keep rolling, business as usual. So now it's going to be Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. If Gilbert Burns wins, it'd be one of the greatest underdog stories ever. A guy that's supposed to be a tune-up fight wins the belt. That'd be amazing. But 6 days before the fight, Gilbert Burns tests positive for the coronavirus, so he has to pull out of the fight. And it's going to be almost impossible to find anyone of any notoriety to take a fight on 6 days' notice. And so who takes the fight other than Jorge Masvidal? So that fight was this Saturday, and at Fight Island, the time zones were different. So instead of our main fight being at midnight, 1 a.m., it was at 10. So I'm going to break down kind of the fight. I'm going to tell you what I saw, and we're gonna hop right into this. So the first round, so it's a championship fight, so it's a 5-round fight, and Kamaru Usman won by decision. So Jorge Masvidal, after going to the Amazon, coming back, putting a couple impressive fights in a row, just dominating the UFC, he finally met his match with Kamaru Usman on 6 days' notice. I'll give him that. He only had 6 days to prepare. But the only round that I saw that was really that entertaining was the first round, because after that it kind of, I don't know, the other 4 rounds just seemed to stall, and I just feel like for your first card at Fight Island, I didn't feel like this main card fight was that good. I really, really didn't. I didn't think it was good at all, and it's not because Jorge lost. I just didn't think it was a good fight. And just to tell you how the fight kind of went, Kamaru Usman threw 173 foot stomps. So when you have somebody in the clinch, or you have them against the cage or whatever, and you literally stomp at their toes, which a lot of MMA fighters kind of see that as cheap, kind of see that as just kind of disrespectful in a way. But Kamaru Usman just stomping the feet of Jorge Masvidal, and then had a couple takedowns, tried to keep it close. But the only round that I really enjoyed was the first round, because they really went after each other in the first round. And then after that, it just seemed like the fight kind of stalled, and Jorge lost. Kamaru Usman wins by unanimous decision. I expected a lot more from this fight. I expected this fight to be, somebody's getting knocked out, which, I mean, that doesn't make a good fight. Like, a knockout doesn't necessarily make a good fight, but I expected this to be a great fight, an instant classic, possibly a changing of power in the UFC, where Jorge Masvidal now holds a belt. He's on this incredible winning streak, and he just looks unstoppable. But instead, he loses in the style that he lost. It's just not something to feel good about. Maybe if Kamaru would have submitted Jorge, or even would have had a TKO, would have like just not slept Jorge, but the ref has to stop the fight. That would have been much more interesting than what we got. And I feel like a lot of people were disappointed, but I'm sure there's plenty of raw UFC fans and MMA fighters that loved that fight. I'm a fan that really didn't. So, but that's okay, because the next fight that Jorge's going to be in, he'll probably have an ample amount of time to train for it. He'll be more prepared, and I think it'll be a better fight. And as far as Kamaru Usman, it may not have been pretty. It may not have been like the fight that we all wanted to see and expected. The man just goes out and defends his belt every single fight, and he did it again. And honestly, I'm not sure who in that weight class can beat Kamaru Usman. I don't really see it. So he might be holding that belt for a little bit longer. Also, I didn't watch this fight. I just saw the highlight, or not the highlight, but I just saw the news. Jose Aldo, he lost the bantam title, didn't he? To who? Petr Yan. Yeah. So Petr Yan, I'm asking Aaron off camera, because like I said, I didn't even watch that fight because I didn't even know it was on the card. But Jose Aldo, the decorated UFC fighter, lost. I can't even say the guy's name anymore. Lost his bantamweight title as well in this card. So it wasn't a bad card at all. It was just that headline fight. I feel like a headline, that fight of the night, that main card fight, really can make or break a card, because you can have a great card and then that last fight is not good, and it just that's what you remember. But I think maybe tomorrow or sometime this week I'll go back and I'll watch the entire card in its entirety, and I can kind of decide for myself if it was a good card. But overall, it wasn't a bad card of the fights that I saw, but it wasn't great either. So I'm gonna stay in the UFC. UFC 4, the video game, was announced, and Conor, I believe it was Conor and Ronda that were on the cover of UFC 2, correct? And UFC 3 was Conor on the cover as well. And Conor McGregor got votes to be on the UFC 4 cover. A dude that hadn't fought, or that really hadn't been in the UFC that much. He fought Cowboy this year at the beginning of this year. Before that, he hadn't fought for like 2 years or something like that, like 2-3 years. So he's only had one fight in the last like 3 years in the UFC, and he got the third most votes to be on the cover of UFC 4. If that doesn't say polarizing, if that doesn't say just fan favorite, I don't know what does. But Dana did not go with him on the cover of UFC 4. He went with Jorge Masvidal, which he lost last night, but still great cover athlete. I agree with that one. And he went with Israel Adesanya and the next style bender. And I think that's a great cover athlete as well. Most of the time when it comes to video game covers, especially sports games, someone's going to have a problem with the cover. Like, why is this guy on there? Madden, I think it was Madden 18, Madden 18, Madden 19, whatever it was. They put Tom Brady on the cover, of course. People did not like that because it's Tom Brady. And then you put Antonio Brown on the cover. People don't like that. NBA 2K's put Kyrie on the cover. People don't like that. They're going with Zion on a cover of NBA 2K21. There's people that are like, really? You're already putting this guy on the cover? He barely played, really? But I don't really see anybody arguing with this cover. I don't see anybody really arguing with any UFC covers, because at the time of, I don't remember who's on the front cover of UFC 1 or the first UFC game, I can't recall. But on UFC 2, when that game comes out, Ronda Rousey's still dominant. Conor his rise to dominance is starting, so that one makes sense. Then UFC 3, Conor is in his prime, basically, of dominance, so makes sense there. And now you've got Jorge, who's really broken out over the last about 2 years, and Israel Adesanya, who is really, really making noise. And you could make the case a top 3 fighter in the UFC in general, again, across all weight classes. So I understand that cover. I like it. Obviously, I don't really purchase sports games that much anymore. I'm not going to buy any Madden ever again. Madden's horrible. I'm getting the same way on NBA 2K. I didn't buy 19. I didn't buy 18. Only reason I have 2K20 is because it came with Game Pass. So I still barely play that. I just don't think sports games are on consoles or what they used to be. They're not that good. But I do purchase UFC games. I think they're very good games. Obviously, they can be improved, but I will be purchasing UFC 4, and I think the cover's fantastic. And I'm going to say this about the UFC, and then we're going to roll into another completely other sport. Dana about the main card at UFC 251. Dana wasn't pleased with that main card fight either. He was not happy, apparently, with the officiating as well as the scoring of Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal. And it just seemed like, I don't know, it just seemed like a fight that wasn't, from start to finish, from the officiating to just the amount of clinch and Kamaru Usman kind of headbutting Jorge and cutting his head open, and that not being, no points taken off there, that not being called. It just seemed like kind of just a mess. It just didn't seem like a very, very good championship fight. But UFC 252 is coming around, and we'll see what we get on that card. And I think the UFC does a good job when they have bad cards of bouncing back. So it's not a big deal. It'll be all good. Congratulations to Kamaru Usman for holding on to that belt. Doesn't matter how you get it done. If it's pretty, if it's ugly, he got it done. So I wanted to record this actual episode right here in the middle of the week because of some news that came out, and I'm really, really excited to talk about it. But I knew that if I recorded this around Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday of this last week, that I would be leaving topics off the table for this one topic. I knew that when the Patrick Mahomes news of the contract came out, if I got the camera set up, got this set up, started and recorded, that I would be making an entire episode without talking about UFC 251, which was a big deal because it's Fight Island. I wouldn't be able to talk about that because it hadn't happened yet. And also, Thursday night and Friday, I found 2 topics listening to a YouTube video. So if I would have went ahead and recorded then, I would not have the topics I have for this episode. So obviously I decided not to make a whole episode about Patrick Mahomes' contract, but instead I wanted to wait before I said anything, let all the details come out, let it kind of marinate with me, let me, over a couple days see if my opinion about the contract changes, and give you my opinion, give you my educated opinion that I was able to sit and think on for a couple days, not just turn on the camera and start talking, So it's been a couple days, 2, 3, 4 days since Patrick Mahomes signed his extension, and I felt my opinion has not changed. I felt the same the entire time. Damn, that's what I was like. Jesus. So Patrick Mahomes, at first glance at his contract, you go, oh my God. So Patrick Mahomes right now, before he signed his extension, he had a 2-year, $27 million contract left. And it was his rookie deal. It's the last 2 years of his rookie deal. And the Kansas City Chiefs give him a 10-year, $450 million extension, which makes him the highest paid player in NFL history, which deservingly so. Also, in this contract, he has 25 and a half, around a little over 25 million in incentives. So, and then his contract, like I said, has 2 years, $27 million and some change left on it. So, with the contract extension, with the incentives, Patrick Mahomes is now under a 12-year, $503 million contract. $141 million of it is guaranteed. So if Patrick Mahomes retired right now, he would make $141 million guaranteed. But in total, if Patrick Mahomes plays out the entire 12-year contract, if Patrick Mahomes meets all the incentives, it'll be a 12-year, $503 million deal. Patrick Mahomes could potentially make $500 million over the next decade and a year or two if he plays out the contract, which I'm going to get to this point first, and then I got a second point about the contract. He's not playing out that contract. No way in hell. So there's a reason for it as well, but when I first saw the contract, I'm like, we're doing this now in the NFL? We're giving players baseball contracts. Like, I've not seen a player receive a double-digit year contract ever that I can recall of. The biggest contract that lengthwise that I've ever seen was when the Eagles gave Terrell Owens a 7-year contract in 2003 or 2004. In 2004, when they traded for him, but even that contract, they could, if they felt that his character was detrimental to the team, they could get out of the contract by the second year, which they did. So I've never seen a contract that extension that long ever. But I think with Patrick Mahomes, I think this is a fantastic contract. I really, really do. I think it doesn't seem like it. It's somewhat of a team-friendly deal because the amount of incentives that are put on it, those don't hit the salary cap. So $450 million divided by 10, that's $45 million a year. That's not how it's hitting the cap. It's hitting the cap at a lower rate. Not, it's still the highest paid quarterback in the league. But over the next 10 years, what does the salary cap table look like in the NFL? Because, in my lifetime, not only does the economy inflate almost literally every single year, but the salary cap for the NBA, the NFL, leagues that have the salary cap, so not baseball, but the salary cap for the NFL and the NBA always inflates. So this contract's 10 years, this extension's 10 years long, so it's a 12-year deal now. So in the year 2031, 2032, or whatever it is, I feel like quarterbacks are going to be making a lot more than $45 million. I feel like in the next 6 years, it'll be customary to pay a high elite quarterback $45 million a year. So as far as the Kansas City Chiefs, I feel like the Kansas City Chiefs got a good deal. They've got the best quarterback in the NFL, head and shoulders, not even close to anybody. A literally Hall of Fame quarterback, no doubt. Unless he goes down with a horrible injury, which even then I'd still bank on him coming back and being a beast. But a Hall of Fame quarterback, no doubt. They locked that dude in for 10 years, plus the 2 years he's already got. So they've locked that dude in for 12 years. That's crazy. And over time, that contract is going to age extremely well as far as how it hits the salary cap and how much quarterbacks are paid after the cap inflates. But what I was saying about him not playing out the contract, Patrick Mahomes is not playing out that contract. And I can tell you why. As the salary cap goes up, which it will, and as the amount of money you pay quarterbacks goes up, which it will, whenever you start paying quarterbacks $41, $42, $43 million, whenever, guys like Kirk Cousins are making $38, $39 million now, and guys like Ryan Tannehill, I'm not saying Ryan Tannehill's getting a second contract with the Tennessee Titans, I'm saying guys like that, when they're now getting paid around 40, and guys like Dak Prescott are making $42, $43 million a year, Patrick Mahomes is making $2 more million than them, and he's head and shoulders better than all of them, so it's not a bad deal. And I do think near the end of the deal, there will be some quarterbacks that will be making more. I think. So, not a bad contract there, but he will not play out the contract, and I can tell you why. So incentives in this contract, what I believe. Sorry, I'm trying to fix my range here, trying to fix my mic. Incentives in this contract. I haven't seen details of the contract, but I guarantee you, it's numbers that he has to hit, because that's incentives in all contracts, passing yards, touchdowns, whatever by this time. I can guarantee that AFC Championship appearances are in there in incentives, as well as Super Bowl appearances and Super Bowl wins. And he'll obviously make more money for Super Bowl wins anyway, and AFC wins or AFC Championship wins. You get bonus money anyway. So I feel like over the next 5-6 years, I feel like Patrick Mahomes wins at least 2 more MVPs. I feel like over the next 6 years, he wins 2 at least, if not 3 or 4 over the next 6 years. Super Bowls, I feel like he wins 1 or 2. Minimum, he brings back 1 more Super Bowl to Kansas City, probably 2 over the next 6 years. So if that happens, we're now looking at Patrick Mahomes a little bit different. If he wins 3 more MVPs over the next 6 years, you're now a 4-time MVP. If he wins 2 more Super Bowls, you're now a 3-time Super Bowl champion over 7 years. That's very, very impressive, and I feel like he'd probably already meet those incentives, like a bulk of the incentives he's supposed to meet. And if that happens, you have to restructure that contract. You have to go, okay, we got 6 years left on the deal. We're halfway through this deal of the whole 12 years. Let's rework this and make it 9 more years now. Let's give you an extension on top of the extension. Because they're not going to – if that happens, if he plays like that, they're not letting him walk. He's retiring in Kansas City. He's playing every single snap of his NFL career in Kansas City. And they'll restructure it. So I think on this contract, which is the largest in NFL history, I think Patrick Mahomes plays so well on this contract that they end up year 7, 6, 7, 8, they end up restructuring it and extending it a little bit more. And as far as did I like the contract or did I not like the contract, I absolutely freaking love the contract. The dude's the best player in the NFL, the best quarterback in the NFL, and he made bank. Like I like to see players get paid because these owners have all this money, they have all the power. They literally, there are some of these owners that go as far as these guys are my property, and it's if you've ever read the Dan Gilbert letter whenever LeBron left Cleveland for Miami. Kind of how that letter felt was a little bit kind of some racial undertones and basically like I own you kind of thing, and you left like that. That's how I felt about that letter. And LeBron tripled Dan Gilbert, the Cavs owner's net worth in 7 years. So I wouldn't be talking like that when that guy leaves. But I feel like a lot of these owners don't have that mindset, but some of them do. I've got all this money, I own you kind of thing. So when a player can go, okay, that's fine, you're paying me $500 million. I like that a little bit. And I always want guys to make their bread as well. I always want guys to get paid. So seeing Patrick Mahomes make this money and, maybe change the quarterback market, but I'm going to get on that in 1 second too. I love to see that. Congratulations to Patrick Mahomes. I hope you earn every single dollar of that contract because it's going to be so much fun for us to watch. Even as a Dallas Cowboy fan, I liked the Kansas City Chiefs as a young child. I used them on Tecmo Bowl for the original Nintendo. It's the team I used was the Kansas City Chiefs. Shout out to the kicker Nick Lowry. I could make 100-yard field goals with him on that game. He's a monster. So I've been a small fan of the Chiefs a bulk of my life. So seeing Patrick Mahomes, commit there, get that huge, the biggest extension, the largest contract in NFL history, I love it. This contract does not affect the quarterback market. So like whenever Todd Gurley signs the big running back contract, it set the running back market. So whenever Zeke and Le'Veon Bell, they get paid because of Todd Gurley. Todd Todd Gurley gets a large running back contract. Then Le'Veon Bell gets a little bit less, but he still gets more than he probably would have got if he didn't wait on Todd Gurley. And then Zeke, well, Todd Gurley made this much. I want this much. Set the market. And Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, these high-paid quarterbacks over the last couple of years, they have set the quarterback market of about where it should be. And then over this offseason, Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers, Teddy Bridgewater, these other quarterbacks kind of reset the market at about $25 million. It's around what all of them signed for, about $25 million a year. So they kind of pulled the market back down. But then Patrick Mahomes signs this massive contract. And you would think that would reset, that would set the market for how much quarterbacks should be paid. Patrick Mahomes got paid this much, so we need to get paid a little bit less than him or about the same as him because that's how much that quarterback got paid. And how does this affect Dak Prescott's contract talk? It didn't reset the market. It did not set the quarterback market because if it was Dak Prescott that made this money, if it was Dak Prescott that got this, which would be insane, but if Dak Prescott got a massive deal, that sets the quarterback market because there are quarterbacks that are better than him and there are quarterbacks that are close to him. So you can go, well, I'm just as good as this guy, or I'm better than that guy, and he got paid that much money. So I should make more or I should make the same, which is what you get into with Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. I'm Dak Prescott. I'm better than Jared Goff, and Carson Wentz is hurt all the time. I should make more money than them. They set the quarterback market. You can't do that with Patrick Mahomes. Not Dak Prescott, not anybody. Nobody, maybe Russell Wilson, maybe, but he already signed his deal. Nobody can go, well, Patrick Mahomes made this much money, and I'm just as good. No, you're not. I'm better. No, you're not. Patrick Mahomes is up here. The rest of y'all are down here. So he didn't reset the market. He didn't set the quarterback market at all. He made what he's worth, and everybody else is worth less than him. So the Patrick Mahomes contract does not affect the future contracts of NFL quarterbacks because he's so much better than everybody else. And you can't, what's the word I'm looking for? You can't back up paying another quarterback that amount of money. You can back up paying Patrick Mahomes that much money because you go, just won a Super Bowl. He's an MVP. He literally puts up the best numbers every single year, and he's in like his fourth year. He's going into his fifth year, I believe. Like, come on. Of course we're going to give this to. He's 24 years old. Like, he's 24 years old. He's in his, literally not even necessarily in his prime, but he's in his prime. He's got 7-8 more years of this kind of football, maybe more. He could have 10 more years of this football. Aaron Rodgers is 36, and he still plays well. Tom Brady's 42. He had an off year, but he still plays. He's still a starting quarterback in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes could do this for 18 more years. He could play till he's 42 as well. He could play till he's 40. He could be doing this for 16 more years. That's a long time. So, no, love the Patrick Mahomes contract. I think it's fantastic. Like to see him get paid. I also like to see a guy from Texas Tech come out and ball in the NFL because the last guy that I can think of from Texas Tech that was like a somewhat good player in the NFL was Michael Crabtree and Wes Welker. So I don't know a lot of players from Texas Tech that have made it, but this guy's highest paid player in NFL history. So shout out to Patty Mahomes, the cover athlete of Madden, and there was no Madden curse this year because my man won the Super Bowl. So I want to hop over to the NBA real quick. So I played basketball since I was in third grade. Played all the way up until I graduated high school. And then after high school, we'd go up to pick up, courts, go up to pick up games at courts and stuff. And, just because you want to play, because you love playing basketball. So I've been around basketball for a very, very long time. And there was something that I noticed a while back. And I never spoke on it. I never talked about it here. And I was listening to I can't remember the sports pod. I think it was Strong Sports. Strong Sports Opinion was Zach Stromer. I think it was that one. And he was talking about how the NFL adapts over time, and the NFL uses some college football concepts over time that the NFL has went. We've got all these quarterbacks who are busting because we're trying to put them into these pro offenses that they've never ran before. They've ran these spread style offenses since 5th grade. And in high school, they've ran this spread style offense. And in college, this kid went to the University of Oklahoma. Of course he ran a spread style offense in Oklahoma. And the NFL, a lot of coaches in the NFL are going, instead of forcing these players to fit into my system and a bulk of them busting, why don't I just change my system to better suit my entire team, to suit the talent that I have? And a lot of NFL teams, I'm talking mainly about the Arizona Cardinals, with Cliff Kingsbury, they now just run a spread air raid offense like Lincoln Riley does at Oklahoma, what Patrick Mahomes ran in high school at Allen right here in Texas, what he ran at college at Oklahoma. Also kind of at Texas A&M. He was at Texas A&M. They kind of ran a spread at that time as well. So the NFL takes concepts from the college game and puts it into their game, and you have a lower bust rate of NFL players now, because offensive linemen, they know how to block for a spread offense. They don't know how to block for a power running offense or for a West Coast offense. They don't know how to do that. So when you put them in the NFL, you're going to have more success if you just run a spread rather than running something new and the possibility of them busting. I feel like teams over the last 5 years, 6 years have really, really done that, where we take more college concepts. So it made me think, why doesn't the NBA take NCAA college, basketball concepts? And it made me think even more, man, when I'm in 3rd grade, they had us full court pressing. And when I'm in middle school, half of a game, we're going to full court press. In high school, in the 4th quarter, sometimes we even start the game in the 1st quarter, we're going to full court press. We're going to make it hard on them. And I'm thinking, when have I ever in the NBA seen anyone full court press? I've seen the opposing point guard pick up the other point guard full court, but they don't play this intense defense. They just kind of back off and just, show that I'm here and make them dribble up the court and protect the basketball up the court. But I haven't seen a team in the NBA set up a 1-3-1 full court zone press or a full court man press unless there's 20 seconds left and you're down by 1 point and you got a foul. So I don't really, and I don't have an answer for it. I'm just telling you guys that I don't understand why the NFL will take concepts from the college game, but the NBA really doesn't. And I don't know if it's because the NBA, there's only 10 players on the court at a time, whereas in the NFL and college football, there's 11 players on one side of the ball. So there's 22 on the field at one time. So in the NBA, one player is going to make more of an impact because there's less bodies. There's less players to make an opposing play. So one guy is going to definitely have more of an impact on the game. And I feel like with college, with the NFL, I feel like the more guys that you have succeed in your system, the better. Whereas in the NBA, you can just have a LeBron James, you can just have a Kawhi Leonard, a Giannis Antetokounmpo. You can just have one of the 6-7 star players in the NBA. You can just have James Harden, or you can just have, you get what I'm getting at here. You can just have one of the best 7-8 players in the NBA, and you'll make the playoffs, and you'll be a competitive basketball team. You'll sell tickets. You'll be good. Might not win a championship, but you'll be consistent. You'll be in the running every single year. So there's no need to really, break off the whole tradition of NBA coaching, that whole NBA coaching hierarchy. Here's what we do. We're not changing. But I just had the thought of, why don't NBA teams press? Why don't NBA teams full court press? And I really don't have an answer for it. Maybe because the skill difference from the NBA to college is so much different that in college you can press these kids and you can force them into mistakes, whereas maybe in the NBA, these guys are so skilled that even the best defenders, they're going to break the press and they'll score extremely quick and extremely easy on your press defense. I don't know. I just know in high school and in college, I see teams have a lot of success with the press. And in high school and college, I see a lot of teams have success with the spread air raid offense. And one of those is being adapted into the professional sport, and the other one really doesn't. So I don't know. I just thought it was something I would speak on. And I got another interesting topic here. I'm going to stay in the NBA, and I'm kind of excited for this one. So I've been watching, I've been listening to a Bill Simmons podcast, The Ringer. And if you're not aware of who Bill Simmons is, huge NBA guy. If you never heard The Ringer, no affiliation with iFilm Cinemas Productions at all. Would love to meet Bill Simmons. That'd be awesome. Go check out The Ringer. It's on YouTube. That's where I watch it on YouTube. It's very good. But he does redrafts of the NBA, and he starts in 1996 and goes all the way up to modern day. So what he does is, obviously, him and either one guest or two guests, they will go over in like a 1996 draft, and they will redraft. So we know the entire career of these players. So if we redrafted them, how would we take them? And they got to one, I believe it was 97 or 98. I can't really remember. 1997. So they do an NBA redraft in the 1997 draft, a draft where a white guy from the University of Utah, Keith Van Horn, was in that draft. And I don't remember where they took him. I think they took him like third or fourth in the redraft, maybe fourth. But in the original draft, Keith Van Horn was selected number 2 overall by the Philadelphia 76ers. And the reason I'm telling you this is because Keith Horn played from 1997 to, I believe 2008 maybe? Let me check this out real quick, because it wasn't a long career by any means. It was a very, very short career. Keith Van Horn, 1997 to 2006 was his career. So he played 9 to 10 years in the NBA. I mean, that's not a bad career, but it's not a long career. In Keith Van Horn's career, he was a good player. His rookie year, he averaged, I believe, right at 20. He averaged 19.7 a game. His second year, he averaged 22 a game. Then 19 a game, 17, 15, 16, 16, 16, 16, 11, 10, 12, and 9. So he started his career averaging 20 a game, and then he stayed right at 17 to 15 points a game. So a good role player for any basketball team, could hit the three at a very, very high clip. That's not why I want to talk about this. Keith Van Horn in his career was traded 6 times, including on draft day. So the 76ers draft him with the second pick, and it takes no time. They trade him. So this is an article from the Chicago Tribune from 1997. It says the New Jersey Nets and Philadelphia 76ers finally completed their multiplayer trade Thursday and will bring number 2 draft choice Keith Van Horn to New Jersey. In the deal, the Nets got Van Horn, a forward from Utah, and 3 veterans, center Michael Cage, swingman Lucius Harris, and forward Don McLean. The Sixers received Villanova forward Tim Thomas, who would meet Keith Van Horn on the Knicks as well. They play on the Knicks together. Bradley guard Antonio Parker, and 2 veteran swingmen Jimmy Jackson. Jim Jackson had a good career, I guess. And center Eric Montross. The trade is the largest in team history, and we're excited, Billy King, the Sixers vice president of basketball administration, said. So Keith Van Horn really got pushed around the NBA a lot and had a tough career, but made the most of it. But that's not the point I want to talk about. I want to talk about. I don't even really care about Keith Van Horn. I just want to bring him up as a talking point. What I wanted to get at was the way that Keith Van Horn's NBA career went. Being traded in general is probably very, very rough because now you got to buy a new house, you got to move your family. If you have kids, they got to go to another school, and next thing you know, you're getting traded again. So if you play 9 to 10 years and you get traded 6 times, that means you're moving 7 times. Because when you get drafted, of course, you and your family have to move to where you get drafted. And then you get traded, which he did immediately. So you got to go to another team. And you get traded again and then again and then again. So there's a lot of moving, and it's very, very stressful and kind of rough. So being traded 6 times, that's pretty tough. But the point of this that I wanted to get to, I promise you I'm getting to a point, is the way that Keith Van Horn was traded. Keith Van Horn was involved in a lot of multi-team trades, being 3 or more teams. And in the early 2000s, that was very, very common, was for all the salary cap to match up and for all the contracts to be even, that 2 teams that were interested in a trade but didn't necessarily have the money matching up right, they would bring in a third or even a 4th team, and they would both give maybe just a contract somewhere, or to make some extra money, to free up extra money, or one team sends a player somewhere to give some money freed up. The other one sends like a 2nd round pick as well to the team that's helping them make this trade happen. But so in Keith Van Horn's 6 trades, I'm not 100% sure on this number. I believe 3 of them. So I believe half of them. I could be wrong. I think half of them involved a 3rd or even a 4th team. Last 6 years in the NBA, 7 years, I don't even recall being one multi-team trade. And I think they're exciting when you see the New York Knicks, the New Jersey Nets, and the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Atlanta Hawks are all involved in a trade together, in a 4-team trade. Just players going all over the place, draft picks being thrown everywhere. Usually when you do that, there's a big-name player in there that, we got to get all this money to match up with this guy's contract. And there's just something exciting about a multi-team trade. And we don't see that anymore at all. I mean, Keith Van Horn saw it his whole career. We don't see it at all. And with the whole, why don't NBA teams full court press, I don't have an answer for it. I just have, maybe because guys are too athletic and they'll break it. Why don't NBA teams do multi-team trades anymore? It's like all GMs across the league were just kind of like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. Like they all just agreed, no, we're not. Nope, not doing that anymore. It doesn't work. We don't like it. Someone gets screwed. We're not doing it. So I don't have an answer for that either. I'm asking you guys, why don't NBA teams do more of multi-team trades? Like, why is there not more 3-team trades where, we're moving this big name because we got to get his contract? I mean, I feel like a perfect guy for this would be Andrew Wiggins with the Golden State Warriors. When they go, we're not going to re-sign this guy, and we don't just want to lose him, and he makes 20-something million a year or whatever. So we are going to trade this guy, and there's a team that's interested in him. There's a team that called us about him, so we'll trade him. But the money doesn't match up here. They don't make, they don't have that open money. What if we call the Dallas Mavericks? What if we call Mark Cuban and say, hey, if this other team can give you guys this player with a, not a big contract, but $12 million, and we also give you 2 second-round picks from us, that'll free up room for them, and we can do this trade. Will you guys do that? If you're that 3rd team, you're gonna take on a contract that you're probably gonna move in the offseason, or it's expiring, so it doesn't matter to you, and you're getting a couple second-round picks or maybe a first-round pick in a couple of years. Yeah, you do it. You go, yeah, cool. Let's get it done. And then that team can trade you that player, and now they have the money freed up for Andrew Wiggins, and they can take Andrew Wiggins. And the team that jumped in, being the Dallas Mavericks, they get some player that they're going to end up cutting, or that they'll end up trading, or they'll let walk in free agency, and then they get some draft picks. So it works out. And I just said Andrew Wiggins because I feel like that's a guy that could possibly move. I don't think it's or D'Angelo Russell. I don't really know. One of those two. They've both kind of been a couple places. But I don't understand why more teams. You don't see big blockbuster name trades anymore because of money constraints and the financial trade rules where contracts kind of have to match up almost. You don't see that anymore. And the door's wide open for big name players to move all over the league. But it has to be through multi-team trades so that all the money matches up. And I just don't understand why we haven't seen that anymore. I had a topic right here at the end about Cam Newton being compared to Randy Moss with the Patriots. Like, whenever Randy Moss got there, and how excited people were and the expectations that Cam Newton being there is the same thing. That's not true, because Randy Moss was in his quote unquote prime whenever he came to the New England Patriots. He was just being that prime, and that talent was just being hidden in Oakland. And then he shows up and sets a single season record for receiving touchdowns for a wide receiver and balls out. They go undefeated. They lose in the Super Bowl to the Giants, but they go undefeated. They're fantastic. He plays amazing. There's been reports, there's been people that are saying that the Cam Newton of the Patriots is the same thing. No, it's not. Cam Newton was not in his prime. Randy Moss didn't have any injuries at all that I recall. Cam Newton's got a boatload of them, the shoulder, the foot. Cam Newton, since his MVP season in 2015, which seems like forever ago, was 5 years ago, he's not been the same player at all. He's been hurt. He's been inconsistent. He hasn't really been a winner. You can't compare Randy Moss in his prime to a broke-down Cam Newton. They're saying that they're like that he's going to have the impact of Randy Moss on the Patriots. No, he's not. I hope he does. It'd be awesome. I thought Cam Newton in 2015 was one of the funnest things I've ever seen. It was so much fun seeing Cam run around the field, give football to kids, take a lap around the stadium, high-fiving people in the stands. I love that. I think it's awesome. But that comparison is not fair to Cam Newton, and it's disrespectful to Randy Moss. Randy Moss to the Patriots with Tom Brady and with that defense they had, that's a game changer. Cam Newton, a broke-down, hurt shell of himself Cam Newton to the Patriots with a team that doesn't have any wide receivers really at all. They got Julian Edelman and Philip Dorsett. Not a great offensive line. They got Sony Michel at running back, but not a really great run game. Defense is kind of depleted. You got Stephon Gilmore, but Kyle Van Noy's gone. All those guys on defense are not, we're not as good. And you lose Tom Brady and you replace him with Cam Newton. That just, don't make that comparison. Cam Newton is not the Randy Moss of the Patriots. I don't like that at all. But I think Cam Newton could possibly have some success. And it's a one-year deal. He's not going to play there for multiple years. He'll play there this season. New England will draft a quarterback. Cam's out the door. Hopefully Cam can use this 1 year to show people that I'm healthy and I can still play at NFL level. And hopefully he gets a contract next offseason. He makes some money, and I'd like to see him back in the Super Bowl possibly. I want to see the old Cam. It was fun. That's going to do it for me today. I definitely wanted to wait off on the Patrick Mahomes contract, like I said, so that I could get to UFC 251, so that I could have time to think about the contract and look at it. And over time, make sure all the details come out, because at first they just said it was $450 million. It didn't say all the incentives up to $503 million. So see, things change over a couple of days. I wanted to make sure I had all the details right. I also needed a couple more days to get all these topics together. So I think it all worked out. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. We're at iFilm Cinemas. We're really, really trying to get as much content out for you guys, the people that actually follow us and actually enjoy what we do. We're trying to make this a business, and we're trying to make this our job, and we're pushing out as much content as we can for you guys. If you haven't listened to Friday's NYNP, go check that out. It's hilarious. Tomorrow, be on the lookout for an NYMP. If you haven't listened to season 4 of the Academy of Conspiracy, they come out every single Wednesday. I believe episode 3 comes out this Wednesday. There are 6-episode seasons. We got season 1, 2, and 3 already done. So if you haven't listened to those, go check those out. We've got some great conspiracies on there. What else is there? iFilm Cinemas Gaming. Go to YouTube, iFilm Cinema Gaming YouTube channel. We've put out a couple videos. Over the next couple weeks, I'm really going to try and push out a bunch of those, maybe 2 a week. We've really kind of not done a good job on that channel, but we got a lot on our plate. We got 3 podcasts and iFilm Cinema Production YouTube page, or we haven't put out a video in a while. We're trying to get some videos lined up there. So we're doing a lot, and you guys showing support means a lot. We also have a Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/NYNP, it is a one-time membership payment, and your money that you subscribe to us on Patreon does not go to us. It goes to Feeding America. So there are 3 tiers. There's the average tier, which is $5. There's the spooky tier in honor of the Academy of Conspiracy, which is $6. And there's the normal tier, which is $7. Don't be an average spooky person. Be normal. If you do join the Patreon, like I said, your money goes to Feeding America. You get a bonus 40-minute episode with my dad, Kendall Durham. It's hilarious. And you could possibly get some merch for free. So go to patreon.com/NYNP, join the Patreon, and you won't regret it. But kind of like I was saying was iFilm Cinema Production, we're really, really, really trying to get out as much content for the people that have been following us the whole time and all of you that support us. We really appreciate it. We're still growing. We're growing every single day, and it's awesome to see it. And I hope this thing grows. I really want to make this a better especially Kai Sports Opinion, but I want to make all of them better podcasts, but I really want to get this one rolling, and I would love for a sports podcast to be my job. That would be a dream come true. So if there are things that you guys want, topics that you guys want to hear, snap me on Snapchat, Kyler Durham 21, no caps, no spaces. Give me ideas of things that you want to hear, or if you know a lot about sports, if you're a sports savant and you want to be on this podcast, hit me up and let me know, because I'm down for any guest that I can get. I have a guest that I'm trying to get right now, and it's going to be an interesting guest because this individual not only is in MMA, but also is involved in another sport that I didn't think I would ever talk about, like crazy. It's like just a sport that I never thought I would ever talk about. And I'm trying to get that person on this podcast. So hopefully I can have that individual on soon. But if there's things that you think that I can work on, or things that you didn't like, or things that you do like, if you want to give me some constructive criticism or praise something that I said or the show or whatever, snap me at Kyler Durham 21. Let me know about different topics you want to talk about, things you want to see differently, things you like, things you don't like, or snap Aaron Cross 15. I think that's it. Go check out Not Your Normal Podcast, Academy of Conspiracy, iFilm Cinemas Gaming, the Patreon, all that stuff. I end every episode like this, and I got this from Zach Schomer from the Strong Sports Opinion. I just heard him at the end of his podcast. He makes a public service announcement for suicide, and I like that he does that, because it's a hard thing to live with a family member or someone that you love committing suicide. So I also do that as well, but mine's on depression and suicide. If you're depressed, or someone suffering from depression, get help or get them help, because living your life in depression is just, it's miserable. It's not great. I have suffered from situational depression before, and it's very tough. But I mean, I don't have any issues now, because I've did what I needed to do and got the help that I thought that I needed to get, and I'm all good. So if you suffer from depression, get help, because doing nothing is making a choice, and it's probably the worst choice you can make, because if you don't address your depression, it leads to to bad choices, which could lead to suicide. And that will destroy your loved ones, will destroy friends, family. Just it's not the answer. Suicide is never the answer. So if you find yourself in a deep depression, or even just you're just a little depressed, or you're just a little sad, get help. If you're a high school student or a college student, there are counselors at your school that are paid to literally talk to students about depression, about suicide, about those things. So find a counselor to talk to. They'll help you. If you don't go to school, find a friend, a family member. I mean, if you have anybody in your corner at all, which I'm assuming that everyone does, talk to them. Reach out to the people that love you. Reach out to your friends. And if you don't go to school, if you don't have a good support group around you, being family and friends, call the suicide hotline. Hotline's open 24/7, 365. It's always available. Just don't do nothing, and don't make the choice that a lot of people make that leads to you committing suicide, because that's never the answer. So, like I said, if you're suffering from depression, or you know someone suffering from depression, get help, or help them, or get them help. That's it for this episode of Kai Sports Opinion. Thank y'all for listening. If you listened on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever, thank you for the listens there. If you watch me on YouTube, thank you for that as well. I will see you guys on the next episode. See you next Monday. And I think that's it for me. Hope you like the Sam Darnold shirt. I copped it, Ross. I thought it was a good pickup. I'll see you on the next episode.